Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of Conversations.
Welcome back,
And
everyone.
thank you so much for being here with us and for watching this video. Once again, I'm Lippy. I'm one of the certified facilitators for 7 Habits here in the Philippines, and I'm also a professional certified coach. And along with me is Pao.
Good afternoon, everyone. Good day, everyone, depending on when you're watching this. Lippy, thank you. So just like Lippy, I am, again, one of the certified facilitators of Franklin Covey here in the Philippines. Just like Lippy, I do coaching as well. And again, we welcome you. We thank you for joining us in this episode of Conversations.
Yeah, and today is a special treat, because our topic today is we'll be answering questions you were too afraid to ask about work.
Interesting. I'm excited to hear these questions.
All right, without further ado, let's get to the first one.
All right.
So the first question is, we shall hear this. I'm afraid to go back to work, but I know we will be going back to school/work.
Okay. Interesting. I feel you there. I feel that there. Maybe what can you say about this?
My short answer is yes.
And yes, the long answer is
The long answer is, okay, so there's a lot of assumptions going around here. But for me, if I were coaching this person, it would go back to, so what's the choice that you want to make? Because there are many, I mean, even me, right? I've received offers to do face-to-face workshops, and so far I've been hesitant to accept.
right.
It all boils down to what choice you want to make and how you want to honor what's important for you.
No, I'll jump off what Lippy said there, and I think that's really the crispest, most direct way we can answer that. And I think at the end of the day, it boils down to what your priorities are. And I guess if we were to dig in a bit deeper, I would likely ask a few questions. Like you mentioned here, I'm afraid to go back to work, but I know we will be going back to school or work. I think one of the questions I might ask is, where is the feeling of going back to school or work coming from? So, for example, to be more specific, have you been told that on a specific date, the expectation will be for the team to start going back to the office physically? I think at the end of the day, the reality is, I think all of us are eagerly waiting to have the option, at the very least, to go back to the office, or for students to go back to school physically. I think the question would be, is it mandatory? And therefore, what is making this a concern, I think, would be the broader question to ask. What is making this a concern? Are there implications attached to not going back to the office or school physically? So I think I would start there. And then that's where I'd start evaluating, okay, what are my priorities? And on the other hand, where is the fear, or where is the apprehension for going back to school or work physically coming from? And of course, the broad answer is likely going to be COVID-19. But really, so what about it? I started out by saying I feel you, because I think I understand where this is coming from, but I would say I have my own considerations, and it's very hard for me to tell whether they're the same for everyone. And I think it pays to become specific and concrete about what those concerns are. And maybe just to close on this part for me, I would also ask, what would it take for me, therefore, to become comfortable about going back to the office or going back to school physically? What am I waiting for? What am I looking for? And this is not a criticism. It's more of to be clear about what it is that will make it sensible, reasonable.
It's awareness, right? It's not
Yes,
criticism.
it's a sense of awareness.
It's more of developing awareness, or in this case, what might make it a bit more comfortable, or what might convince you that it's okay to go back. Right?
And yes, and I think that's really coming from the time may come when the real world objective concerns are gone, and yet the anxiety, the apprehension, the feeling remains. And so, as Lippy put it, that sense of awareness, I think, will help us then, because at some point we will have to move on. And I can't prescribe what moving on means. But if going back to the office or going back to school physically makes sense to us in the future, then I think it would make sense to understand for ourselves what will make it comfortable enough for us to consider that.
Nice. Thank you, Pao. And if talking about moving on, let's move on to the next question.
Next question.
Well said, well said. All right, so the next question.
Oh.
Paano to? Okay. Yung inaasa sa'yo ng ka-team mo lagi yung workload.
Mm-hmm.
Tapos pag natulungan mo, may masasabi pa rin.
May masasabi pa rin siya. Oh. Mabigat, no? Pero naramdaman ko yun eh.
Ba't mo tinutulungan to taon to? No, and tongue in cheek, right?
Yeah.
But the end of the day, may there is a conversation, may pag-uusap na kailangan maganap dito tungkol sa ano ba responsibilities ninyong dalawa. What else? Tumatakbo rin sa isip ko dito, right? Is yung word na inaasa.
Mm-hmm.
So ang assumption dito, pag sinabi inaasa, right, that dependence, that they're dependent upon a large part of the quantity or quality of the work from you.
Yes.
Right? Tapos pag natulungan mo, may masasabi pa. So whose work is it actually we talking about here?
Oh, yeah.
Also, and para lang diretsuhin ka kung sino ka man nagtanong dito, maraming salamat at hindi ka natakot tanungin to kahit natakot ka tanungin to sa iba. Ako, hindi rin ako matatakot sagutin ka. Ang diretsong sagot rin dito is kasama ka sa sitwasyon na to. Kasi hindi ka aware or whether aware ka man o hindi, okay, yun mga ginawa mo at sinabi mo led you to this situation also.
That's true.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Pao, you want to add?
Yeah, if I may jump in, no, may ilan akong mga napulot doon na siguro sa akin importante mga punto. Sabi mo, for one, dependent siya. Kasi nakaasa siya or may nakaasa sa kanya. And then, naisip ko rin, maganda rin yung sinabi mo na masakit man isipin yung mga ginawa natin o hindi natin ginawa patungo dito. Yun din yung nagdala sa atin dito. And I think, Lipi, if you'll allow me, siguro if I were to expound on that, kung itutuloy ko yung puntong yon. Siguro ang sasabihin ko ay saan ba nanggaling yung pag-aasa na ito nung kasama natin? No? Dati ba nagkaroon ba ng mga pagkakataon na sinabi natin, sige ako na lang gagawa? Or meron ba tayong nasabi na, sige pag kailangan mo na tulong or basta ganyan, ako bahala. O isa yon. Ngayon, kung hindi man ganun, siguro another scenario would be, kailan ba natin nasimulang maramdaman to? Kasi obviously dito, ang nararamdaman ko dito is meron ng inis. O sa English, siguro meron ng resentment. Kasi ang lumalabas, you depend on me, or in short, I do things for you, and yet you complain about what I do for you. So I think it's entirely possible, and I've been guilty of this myself, na siguro may mga pagkakataon na hindi natin gusto. Or may iba tayong mga prioridad, may iba tayong mga mas importanteng bagay para sa atin na gagawin, pero hindi tayo nakapaghindi. Sabi nga nila, diba, that's one of the most difficult things for us to do, to say no. And yet, surprisingly, it's one of the most important things for all of us to learn, to decide kung saan tayo mag-no or saan tayo maghindi. So ngayon na nandito na tayo, kasi sabi nga ni Lipi, kumbaga nahatid na natin yung sarili natin dito. Siguro ang itatanong ko is, what will it take for you to say no the next time around? Now, whether that's a hard no, as in ayaw na kitang tulungan, or if it's a conditioned no or a qualified no, as in, sige, I can help you out here, let's agree on certain expectations. So pwedeng tanungin mo, ano ba yung inaasahan niya? Say, boss mo to. Ano ba yung inaasahan niya exactly? Para wala ka na reklamo pag natapos, ano ba yung gusto mo makita?
Ano ba? Oo.
Or,
para
kung gusto
that
mo
way,
mas...
diba?
Yeah.
Wala nang masabi. Kasi naklaro niyo na kung ano ba ang gusto ng tao na to. And sige, assume natin, what if na talagang magkasama kayo sa trabaho, nakaasa sa'yo, team effort, etc., etc. baka hindi naman niya alam na nakakasakit na siya sa sinasabi.
Imposible, oo.
So magandang pag-usapan yun. Mas i-share mo sa kanya, alam mo, Pao, so example na, okay na naman na together sa team, di ba, na ako gumagawa ng part na to. Okay? And because in-enjoy ko siya talaga, di ba, et cetera, kung ano man yung totoo, ha? Ayoko magsinungaling dito. Di ba? Pero hindi ako natutuwa kapag minsan nakakarinig ako ng may comments ka na pwede pa natin i-improve or may comment na hindi ko naman narinig before na yung pala yung hinihingi.
Right.
And sa akin, next time, di ba, pwede tayo mag-usap bago tayo magsimula. Para malinaw sa akin, ano ba hinahanap mo? And you can have a conversation around that. Di ba? Kasi nakikita ko rin dito sa question, baka yung mas issue pa nga, depende sa tao, di ba? Baka mas issue pa yung wala man issue sa akin na tumulong, issue sa akin, yung dami pa kasi sinasabi baga tapos ko tulungan.
Oo nga. So, posible nga, sabi nga natin, di ba, set expectations. Pwedeng ikaw rin, yun yung expectation mo. Posible ba, pwede bang ang hihilingin ko sa'yo, sige, tutulong ako, I will do the work. Pero ang hiling ko is either of two things. Pinagawa mo sa akin, ginawa ko sa pinakamahusay na kakayanin ko, huwag ka na sana magreklamo. Or kung meron ka mga reklamo or if you have any comments or concerns, sa akin mo muna sabihin. And sana may respeto naman yung pagkasabi mo. Hindi yung pareklamo. So, kasi iba yung reklamo sa feedback eh.
So bottom line, maging proactive tayo sa ano mga kinakailangan, ano gusto natin mangyari. At saka maghanap tayo, ano ba ang win-win for us here?
Yes.
Diba? Kasi posible masyado mabigat yung workload or yung win-win dito. Okay lang naman sa akin tumulong, pero wag naman ganyan na, diba, exactly. Na at the end marami ka pang, diba, give the feedback nicely, respectfully, constructively, or sa start pa lang, ayun nga sabi mo, Pao, set expectation.
And I think ibabalik ko siya dun sa original na sagot mo. Essentially, kailangan yung mag-usap. Kailangan siyang pag-usapan. Kasi hindi magbabago yung sitwasyon kung hindi natin pag-uusapan.
Wala pong ano to ha, wala pong magic trick. So,
Unfortunately.
And or fortunately. Sa kagandang bagay, wala ring magic trick to kasi all of these are skills and practices that you can implement to help you get the result you want. Tulad dito next question natin.
Sige nga, ano nga ba yung next?
Ano nga ba yung next? Ang next question natin ay yan. So what if unsupportive ang boss? Yung kahit anong gawin mo, nahanapan ng butas. Hindi marunong mag-recognize ng contributions. May favoritism pa.
Okay. Medyo layered ata yung sitwasyon natin dito.
How long have you been working for this boss? Why are you still working for this boss? That's also diba? That's a question. And I'm not saying here that you should quit. I'm saying here, is it clear enough for you why you're working in that position under your supervisor?
That's true.
Okay, so let me reiterate that. Hindi ko sinasabi, although it's a fact. Now, there is research behind the fact that people don't leave companies. Actually, people leave bosses.
Yes, that's true.
Right? So there's data. Pero sa akin, okay, first off is maging klaro rin tayo. Okay, ba't ako nagsistay? And am I willing to make an effort to try to change the situation? Kasi based on sa question, ang dami mo rin nahanapan na butas tungkol dun sa boss mo.
May punto ka doon,
Diba? I mean, sorry does your boss even know you're looking for the support and recognition?
That's true.
Number one. Number two, sinasabi mo may favoritism pa. So, nakikita mo ba na rin-recognize rin niya at sinusuportahan niya yung mga favorites niya versus you? Huh? Ba't ko tinatanong to? Because all of these are observable behavior. All of these are facts that I can go in and have a conversation with. Boss, nung tinanong ko to, nung humingi ako ng ganito, okay, I had a lot of comments. Hindi pa rin clear sa akin kung ano yung gagawin ko. And I felt hindi ako na-recognize considering 1 month ko na ginagawa to. And marami rin naman kaming output ng team ko. Pero napapansin ko, ito yung concern. And you can come from your own perception. Hindi to sumbungan. Based na to sa experience mo, please don't make this sumbungan na bakit kami ganito, bakit sila ganyan. Come from the I experience. This is what I've experienced. This is what I'm seeing is happening. para hindi defensive agad si boss na ikaw may favoritism ka. Boss, ito napapansin
no.
ko. Totoo ba yun?
Oo.
Anong take mo doon? And it becomes a more open conversation.
Yeah. I like that, no? So, I think ang sinasabi natin doon is you own it, no? Hindi yung nagtuturo ka rin ng daliri. Boss, hindi ka kasi supportive eh. O boss, may favoritism ka. Sabi nga ni Lipi, that will only push the boss to be defensive in most cases. Or kung hindi man defensive, baka lalo pa niyang i-exercise or ipakita yung behavior niya. Kasi most likely may inis din siya. Kasi parang sabi nga ni Lipi, nahanapan mo rin siya ng butas. On the other hand, kung sabi nga ni Lipi, medyo sabihin mo, boss, ito kasi yung napansin ko or ito yung naramdaman ko. Then it doesn't become a direct accusation. It's more of a, boss, ito yung experience para sa akin. This is what I feel. This is what I'm seeing. Now, just to...
And be clear about ano ba hinahanap po from having the conversation. Kasi you could get to a point where, right, if the person is open to receiving the feedback, tatanungin niya yun. So what would you rather have happen? Ano ba yung nais mo ma-experience other than... So be also clear with what is it that you're gunning for, no, when you talk to your boss.
Yeah. And I think even, I would say even prior to that, be clear also with yourself. And I don't mean to nitpick the question or the comment here, no? But for example, supportiveness and not asking questions or not finding possible loopholes or shortcomings don't necessarily equate, no? It's entirely possible that, hypothetically speaking, I don't know your boss, I don't know the situation completely, pero pwedeng yung boss naman natin is actually supporting us or has bigger aspirations, bigger visions for us. And that's why it's possible na nahahanapan niya ng butas yung trabaho natin because naniniwala siya na kaya pa nating pagbutihin. We can do better, we can do more. And that may not be what we need, but it's possible that the boss does not understand that. The boss may also not be aware that what we're feeling is unsupported. Baka sa kanya, ang tinitingnan niya is, I'm stretching you. I want to stretch you because I want you to grow. I want you to develop. I want you to be more visible. I know it sounds a bit counterintuitive, but I know some people who will say that if I don't give you constructive feedback, right? In short, if I don't criticize your work, if I don't give you criticism, be more afraid. Kasi ibig sabihin daw sa kanila, I don't care or hindi na ako umaasa. On the other hand, if I do give constructive feedback or criticism, it means I care and I believe that there's more you can do. Now, of course, the conversation still needs to be had because it's also important. Ano yung impact sa'yo? Kasi posibleng yun yung intent niya pero ang nararamdaman mo ay bugbog na ako lagi kay boss. Yes. And of course, it's counterproductive.
And that in a way, it's you also have to support your boss with this, right?
Yeah.
I mean, newsflash, ang mga boss natin, yung mga tao rin mga yan.
That's true.
Okay, same as us. They're not perfect people. They're also learning along the way. And have a conversation. Kasi like example, may favoritism pa. Sino ba nagsabi na may favoritism siya? Ikaw o siya? Kasi pag ikaw yan, that's a perception. Pwede mo klaruhin. Pag siya yung nagsabi na actually may favorite siya, maganda pag-isipan mo rin na ano ba nangyayari sa team niyo, di ba?
For example, yung mga gustong-gusto ko talaga si ganyan. Kung meron talaga siyang sinasabi ka, then yes, that's pretty clear. Pero sabi nga ni Lipi, if it's a perception.
Gray area pa nga yan eh. Yung gustong-gusto ko. Pwedeng gusto ko siya, pero the treatment
hindi ko favorite.
Is equal and fair. Diba? Pero I've seen and I've encountered teams where the boss just approves the proposals of one or two people. Everyone else doesn't get a fair shake.
Yun.
And so, yun. Again, this is why our proposal is to come from what you're experiencing, share the facts, and have a conversation around it.
Yeah.
Actually, those are two separate topics pa nga. You can talk about your own need of recognition first and the feedback. Yung favoritism sounds like a separate topic. I'm not sure if you want to mix that into the same conversation, but
true.
It's up to you guys.
That's true. And just to build on what Lipi shared, you may want to try and implement a formula. Sabi nga ni Lipio, you share the facts, share the objective, observable behavior. So if you want, pwedeng name the behavior or name the situation as objectively as you can. And then you can also sensitively spell out ano yung impact. So pwedeng there's always criticism about my work. You can say the impact is I get demotivated. I feel like um, the work is not appreciated because it's very possible that the boss doesn't know, or at least that it's not deliberate. And then you can agree on what can we do about it moving forward. Both sides, I think.
Good. All right. Next question, please. A producer is there. Okay. All right. So, Pao, would you want to read this question first?
Sige, sure. Sige. I approached boss for clarification. Okay. Leader asked me the question back, putting pressure on me. Also said that this will be used as an example. So added pressure. But that is not the help I wanted. Okay. This is an interesting situation. Lipio, if you'll allow me to go first, and I'm pretty sure you'll have quite a bit to say on this also. But I can relate to this in a sense because this is actually the way I try to approach my team. And so this may be an unpopular answer here, or as sabi nga nung nagbato ng question, this is not the help I wanted. But if you will, hear us out here. No? And the way I try to approach my team in general and people who ask for support or help is I do ask questions also. But obviously, I don't throw back a question, at least not always. Now, ikaw, anong gagawin mo? Because obviously that the person probably approached me or asked for help or advice exactly because they don't know. But what I try to do is ask meaningful questions that hopefully will lead the person to make a meaningful decision or choice for themselves. And there are a number of reasons why I do this. And I'll try to simplify. So I think if I were to simplify, the reason I do this is because, well, number one, it's easy enough for me to say, if I were you, this is what I do. And sometimes that might be the most immediate, the most efficient help that I can give. But it isn't always the case that the capability, the personality, the disposition of the person asking for the advice will allow for that to be the most helpful course of action. Posibleng sa akin, it makes entirely sensible, reasonable sense. Sa kanya, parang, paano ko gagawin yun? And it might be a matter of resources or capability. So maybe the context is not right. Second is, di ba sabi nga nila is, you can either give a person bread or fish to eat, or you can teach a man to fish. And essentially, if you give them direction outright, ito yung gawin mo. It may not prepare them to face a slightly different situation later on. If it's exactly the same situation, if it's exactly the same challenge, then sure, maybe they will apply it like a formula. But we all know that challenges change. No? Sometimes there is a slight tweak, there's a slight difference in the context, in the background. And if we resort to just giving out direct answers, it's possible that we're not actually helping the person grow. So where I'm going with this is, I feel like it's entirely possible that the boss is actually trying to help you grow. Now, it's possible that the questions and the manner of asking may feel intimidating, may feel a bit overwhelming. If that's the case, you might want to clarify it and say, kahit pabiro, boss, teka lang, medyo nakaka-overwhelm yung tanong. Well, then it might actually lead the person to say, oh, sige, maybe I can phrase it differently, which I have done myself. I've had people tell me, I'm not sure how to answer that, or I'm not sure. So then maybe you phrase it differently. Now, the second part, I'll just touch on this, Lipio, before I hand over to you. Also said that this will be used as an example. I'm not quite sure what this means, no, but if I were to imagine it, it might be using the particular situation, the particular context, or even the approach as an example to the rest of the team or the organization. And that I can understand, can add pressure, can add a sense of, depends, no? If it's a negative situation, it might be embarrassment, it might be humiliation. In that case, what I would do is I would be upfront about it. And I'd say, I'm not very comfortable with that. I hope you understand. And if need be, siguro I would spell it out. Maybe it's a sensitive topic, sensitive matter, or I feel like I will not be put in a good light in this situation. So I would be that upfront about it. Lippy, anything you'd like to add here?
I agree with the points. And questions are a great tool to help train people and develop empowerment. Actually,
Yeah.
right? Asking the people to So for me, what I want to focus on here, apart from what Pao has already shared, is the line, but that is not the help I wanted, right? So then
Right.
be forthright with your boss with what is the help that you're looking for, right? They ask the
That's true.
question
That's
back,
true. That's
right?
true.
And you can be direct with, so I really don't know, and you can start it off with by sharing what are the facts, and and if, let's say, example, boss asks, you ask the boss for a clarification, leader asks you the question back, you can say, boss, actually I'm looking for alignment here, I really want to know
Mm.
what is the right thing to do in our team slash company or in this process. In my awareness, this is what I would do, blah 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 blah, but I'm not sure, because I don't
Yeah.
think you're going into this totally with blank, right? Because
Yeah.
if you're going into this totally blank, then you can say, then you can also go and say, I really don't know, this is what I'm inclined to answer, but I want to
Mm.
ask for your input, because I'm
So
not,
pwede.
I don't have a solid basis for
Yeah.
that, or I'm not really sure about that answer. And so
Yeah.
at least you're showing to your boss that this is the help I need. At the same time, it's not as if I'm not thinking about it.
That's true.
Because
That's
if you
true.
are, because if you're not thinking about it, yun, may kailangan gagawin doon. Di ba? Pero pinapakita mo na, okay, ito yung thinking process ko, ito yung pinag-iisipan ko, pero gusto ko lumapit and to ask for what is it really. Like, again,
Yeah.
it really depends on the topic. It really depends on what you're asking here. So bottom line, the tip that what we're sharing here is that be open to sharing with your boss the thought process.
That's
Also.
true. That's true.
Because
That's
that
true.
will also help your boss ask better questions. In a
That
way,
is
you're
true
training your
also.
boss how to support you, because if that's not the help you wanted, you gotta tell them, and you gotta help them understand what is the sort of help that you want.
That is true. And I think, Lipio, you made a very good point there, no? Bringing it to this is not the help I wanted. So yes, clarify what is the help you wanted. And maybe just to try to expound further, no? You started by saying I approached boss for clarification. So I will just hinge on the word clarification which you used, which basically means, most likely to my mind, to jump off what Lippy said, I have a certain thought process, I have some ideas that I'm already cooking up, so to speak. But I'm not sure about one, two, three things, or I'm not quite sure if I'm understanding the need or the request correctly. And so therefore I need clarification. So I think what might need to be clarified naman for the boss is, boss, I'm not asking you to give me the direction or to tell me exactly what to do. I just need, as Lippy put it, I need to make sure we're aligned on where we're going. And there are very good reasons for that. To avoid rework, to avoid frustration, to name just two. And I'm sure you can imagine many more.
All right. Next question, please. Okay. Here.
Sige, sige ako magbabasa.
Okay.
In sending out emails, I hope this email finds you in good spirits. Well, I am so exhausted. I'm laughing because
I hope this email finds you. Period.
Period.
Finds me.
Doesn't find its way to spam or something.
Yeah. So I can so relate to this.
Yeah.
There are many different times also in my career where I find myself typing out whatever email salutation. Good day. I hope this email finds you well.
Finds you in good spirits.
What if it doesn't?
Yeah.
I think it's not about the email, it's about the person itself. So
I think so.
How are you taking care of yourself? Well, I am so exhausted. So what are you doing about your exhaustion?
It's true. That's true.
And I am assuming a lot here, but I think the answer is, it's not writing better email salutations. Like,
Yeah.
what are you doing to take a break? What are you doing about your exhaustion? I think it's, and before I pass to Pao, solid, for me, solid tip, and this is my perspective. Pao might not share my perspective.
I'm raring to hear this now.
Yeah. If you don't feel, I hope this email finds you in good spirit. If you don't feel it, if that's not authentically the email salutation you want to write, don't write it. hello. Just don't fake out yourself.
Yeah.
You know?
That's true. And there are actually, I realized there are possibly two ways to look at this. And since you mentioned, since it's prefaced by say sending out emails, I'm guessing it's the way Lippy approached it, which is I'm the one sending it out. I'm not feeling very great. I'm actually feeling exhausted. And yet here I am typing out a formulaic salutation. I hope this email finds you in good spirits. And I'll extend that further. I'll extend the image further. And it's possible we're emailing the very person who is adding to our exhaustion because, frustration and whatever. Uh, the I would say also try to manage or try to be more aware of when you attend to certain things. And so again, there are many unknowns here. We're making a number of assumptions, but I think many of us, for example, are guilty of doing our emails at what I'll just very broadly call the wrong time, which are maybe first thing in the morning. I know many people who almost literally the first thing they do when they wake up, and some people do this even before they go through their morning routine, is they go through their emails. Or at the end of the day, just before we hit the sack, for some people, for many people, I would think nowadays that everyone pretty much is using a laptop. We literally do our emails in bed. You may be in your pajamas, in your sleeping shorts, whatever you wear to bed. And then literally, it's either you doze off with your laptop on your lap or on your chest, or you just, throw it to the side. And the reason I bring that up is because my experience, and there are many gurus who will actually say this, that's probably the worst thing you can do. Because literally you're opening and you're closing your day on the worst note that you can choose, almost. And there are many other bad
You're
notes.
opening and you're closing your day on other people's agenda.
That's true, yes. You're making yourself, a slave maybe, or you're giving yourself to other people's agendas. And so, as Lippy said, no, don't pretend. Now, we're not saying go out there and be hostile towards everyone. But what you might be, what you might want to do is just give out a very, a very short salutation, hello, and then go straight to your objective. I'm getting in touch to respond to your previous email, or I'm getting in touch to ask you for advice on. If you don't feel like saying, I hope this email finds you in good spirits. I think for the most part, as long as we're generally courteous about the rest of the email, we can very often do away with that.
Here's an exception.
Yeah, go.
Unless that phrase, I hope this finds you in good spirits, is something you authentically say face to face.
Oh, well, then that is true.
So what else are we saying here is that, when you write out your emails, use your authentic voice. And I don't know, I have not asked Pao about this. I come from conversational school of writing.
Okay.
So even in business correspondence or writing out formal letters, I try to maintain a conversational tone because it's what people will easily understand. And you can do away with, for me, you can do away with a lot of the highfalutin mambo jumbo. Right?
Yeah.
And just go straight to the message and with what is it that you want to express, right? I hope this email finds you in good spirits. It's not something I would say face to face. So if I write that out in an email, I know people will and my friends immediately question, it's Lippy the one writing? Did he just press tab and autocomplete that on the Gmail app? So it's a practice. What am I saying here? It's a practice to stay in touch with yourself, and maybe you're doing some of that, which is why you can say you're so exhausted. So do something about the exhaustion.
Yeah. So I guess what we're saying here, Lippy, if I may, is there are two parts to it. The first one is the email, and assuming that you do absolutely feel like it's important to send out the email, then you don't need to put something in there that you don't feel like saying. Just find a way to be respectful in what you will say. And the second part, which is probably the more important one, is do something about the exhaustion. Do something about your well-being. So earlier I mentioned that one of the worst things you can do is start by emailing and end your day by emailing. So to my mind, one of the better things you can do is put that off. Probably won't hurt if you wait, 15, 30 minutes before you get to that. There are other things that you can do as well. Put more important things first. put things that will help you get on the right track first. And I'm refraining from prescribing because each one has different things that will work for them. But I highly doubt that going straight to your emails first and last thing in the day is the best thing that you can do for yourself. I actually like, if I may add, I like what Lippy pointed out earlier. Be authentic. And I've never thought of it that way, but I like what you said. If it's not something that you would say or do in actual conversation, then refrain from it. Now, to extend that thought, depending on your relationship with this person or the recipient of the email, you might actually want to consider, what would I normally say? Is it a kamusta? How are you doing? And if it's as simple as that, then you can stick with that.
Yeah, or is it a yo, listen. Really.
That's true.
And also, why am I also sharing this? Because given our context now, I mean, we need to put a little bit more human touch into all the digital stuff that we do. And I think that dovetails straight into our last question, or is it a statement? So I think the last statement is actually a piece of advice for all of us and all our viewers here, Paolo.
Okay.
So the last statement is, love to say this. Please hesitate to reach out to me. Check.
Well, what can you say about this, Lippy?
Hey man, if that's what you feel like, then take steps to be able to again address the self-care, address what your needs are, take care of yourself. It's not selfish to do that. Don't burn out.
Mm-hmm.
And well, one assumption here is, again, you have unwittingly co-created this situation where people might, they might not be hesitating to reach out to you, and they might not be hesitating to expect a quick reply to you at, maybe in ungodly hours or during your rest time. And and so why aren't you saying it? Why aren't you saying some form of please hesitate to reach out to me? Which, for an example, might sound like, you can reach me in normal work hours, or if it's really urgent. But if it's a weekend, I'll be with my family and I might not respond in a timely manner.
Yeah.
And that's upfront, because it's clear for you what your priorities are. I'm going to be resting. This is what I've got. I've got some things planned. Just leave it at that. Leave it at that.
Yeah. And I think, just to jump off, I like what Lippy said there. Be upfront about it. Again, I will go back to a point I raised earlier. Of course, don't be hostile or don't be rude about it as much as possible, is what I'd say. Another suggestion I'd give is also maybe be clear to yourself first. Where is this desire coming from? So if I were to expound, why don't we want people to reach out to us? Is it because maybe the most immediate assumption or the most obvious one would be, I have other things I want to do. I don't want to be bothered outside of work hours. Or simply, ayoko nang kulitin niyo ako. Maybe those are some motivations. Maybe another one is, I think this is perfectly clear. And so I think there's no need for further conversation on it.
Yeah.
And now the reason I bring that up is because if that's the case, then the additional suggestion I would have is, this might sound a bit funny, but empower or enable people to hesitate to reach out to you. And what do I mean by that? When you send out an email or when you make a statement or deliver a proclamation, make sure it's clear. So that if you don't want people to clarify, if you don't want people to nag, if you don't want people to ask all sorts of other questions, then be clear, be upfront about your message, and be clear about the expectations as well. Because sometimes when people reach back out to us, it's because maybe we weren't clear, or maybe we used big terms that they don't understand. Like just a while ago, I was having a conversation with someone, and I realized he was telling me about an experience that someone else told him about. So it's a three-way thing, which is the worst thing you can have. But so it appears that another person had difficulty understanding where I was going. And so I was frustrated that I didn't get a response from the other person. And the other person, I just call him person C, in this case, apparently was having difficulty because, wala, in short, hindi niya nakuha kung ano yung gusto ko, kung ano yung tinatanong ko. And so we were both frustrated with one another, and I didn't know that. It took person B to tell me, I think he was lost. I think he didn't understand what you were getting at, you were saying, what you were asking. And so on my end, I realized, I could have been clearer. I could have been a bit more upfront. Maybe I could have been a bit more succinct about the way I said things.
Yeah.
And so it helps to realize in hindsight. But yeah, then, again, empower or enable the people to not reach out to you by being clear, by giving them what they need. And as Lippy said, by, in short, training them. Don't talk to them. Don't nag me on weekends after work.
I remember an example here. Scrolling through Facebook and then seeing a friend of mine share this article about how someone wrote this email autoresponder that assured no one would disturb the person on their vacation.
Yeah.
And so the email autoresponder goes, and it's not as straight to the point as I would like it to be, but it's a great example.
Okay.
So I'll be on leave on these dates to these dates. I will be enjoying a beachfront vacation with my family and loved ones. If there is an emergency or there is an urgent issue that you would wish me to address while I am on vacation, then contact me on these dates, etc., etc. Here's the nice part, and this is what I think is genius, right? Or you can contact person A at blank, person B at blank, right? And then the last one wraps it up nicely. But if you really want to contact me, you may still do so at this email, knowing that I might not reply to you in a timely manner. Signed, person.
Very clear. Very clear. Very clear. And I think, for some people, it might throw them off. For some people, it might sound like, abdicating responsibility or what. But as you put it, there was genius in the, I don't know if it's delegation or simply assigning and directing the concerns to other people who could address it in a more timely manner. Because that does a number of things. It gives them the feeling that they're not simply going to be ignored for the next week, 2 weeks, because that's difficult also. And second, it gives them a specific place to go rather than you broadly saying, please ask the team or please ask other responsible people or simply not mentioning at all. Then it makes people feel lost. Now, if you direct them to the right place, this is not what I had in mind, but I think that falls under empowering and enabling them to not reach out to you because then you're directing them to other people. The only caveat there is, I would say, of course, the assumption is na pag-usapan nyo na ni person A, person B, and person C.
So see, you gotta put in the work.
Yeah, beforehand.
Beforehand. So if you want people to hesitate to reach out to you, right? You have to, for the lack of a better term, you've gotta train them to think about, what are they bringing to you first, and who else can I bring this to?
Yeah, because if you don't put in the work, then you'll have two people going after you. Two people not hesitating to reach out to you.
To reach out to you going, why are they contacting me about this? No, don't put other people on the spot.
Yeah.
That way.
I think that's a great point. Yeah. Be direct about your out of office, be direct about your work hours and the expectations they can have of your response. And if it's an emergency, then be direct also about how they might be able to get to you or at least get to a response that they need.
Yeah. And that's all the questions for today. So everyone, thank you for being with us with our first episode of questions about work you were too afraid to ask. Yeah. And if you have any questions about work or maybe about life that you were too afraid to ask, you think it's so silly, you think it's crazy, right? You can comment on it, and we'll put up a link or we'll put up some chat box or email where you can send in your questions. We'll make sure to include it in our next episode.
Yes, and please do follow us on Facebook. You can also like and subscribe to this channel. That will make sure that you are updated both here on Facebook and on YouTube for more videos like this and more conversations and possibly content that will be very helpful for you, as Lippy said, in work and in life. So with that, we thank you for sending in your questions. We hope you've enjoyed this episode of Conversations. We know that it's been a while. So again, my name is Paolo. With me, of course, my partner in crime, so to speak, is Lipi. And we thank you for joining us in this episode of Conversations. Again, in everything we do here at Franklin Covey Philippines and the Center for Leadership and Change, our one goal, really, is to enable you to be able to pursue and achieve the things that are most important to you. And we hope that this afternoon we have help, whether in a small or in a big way. So see you again next time. We hope that you will join us again.